This is Climate Watch. I'm Zhao Ying. Welcome to the show. China's 15th five-year plan sets a target of cutting carbon emissions intensity by 17% by 2030. In an earlier episode, we explored China's push to build zero-carbon factories and industrial parks. But decarbonization isn't just about how things are made. It's also about what we choose to buy. Earlier this year, China released a nationwide action plan to promote green consumption. The plan outlines 20 policy measures across key sectors. It promotes greener vehicles, energy-sufficient appliances, and eco-friendly services in catering and accommodation. It also supports the development of green supply chains and shared services, and integrates AI to accelerate green consumption. How does this work in practice? How much difference can consumer choices really make? And can a greener demand push companies to change how they produce? Joining us now is Zhou Mi, a senior research fellow with the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation. Dr. Zhou, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, China has long focused on greening production, but what's different about this new emphasis on consumption? Why is demand-side change getting more attention now?
Well, we know that China have some kind of idea that we want to fulfill our commitments to the international community to, according to the Paris agreements that we want to reach the carbon neutralization as a central of this century. So it's not just from one side. I think that when we're talking about the neutralization of the carbon emission, it's touched a lot of areas on different areas, including the production and also include the consumption. So I think that for China, one of our biggest advantages is that we are going to become the super large domestic market. The domestic market is having a very big impact in the future. It will going to have those impacts. So when we're talking about the consumption, if the people are not trying to buy the green things, they are just intended to buy, some of this carbon intensive products. I don't think that it is easy for us to reach that goal. So for the green consumption, it is not only our obligation, our promise, it is also our reality that we want to touch with. As for the global trends, we discussed about the relation between the supply and the demand. In China, many people argue that China is in the position when the supply is very strong, but the consumption is not that strong. So one of our tasks last year and this year or the next years is trying to strengthen the abilities of the people for consume. So one of the possible areas is that when we're going to encourage the consumption, we're not just trying to make it to become a larger scale or people can buy more things. It is also important for us to try to provide the consumers with a better and higher quality products. So the green is one of the labels for the higher quality products. So I would say that is some kind of idea that when we're going to undertake or enforce our tasks for the promotion of the consumption, we want to make it greener.
So can you give us a big picture overview of this nationwide action plan for green consumption and how it fits into China's broader goals for low carbon transition?
Well, first of all, it's not just coming from one ministry. So we can find that from the statement that almost the 10 ministries are included in this kind of action. It's coming from the commercial mode ministries like the MOFCOM to the industrials related industries and also to some of the financial administrations. So it is a very wide range of cooperation between the different ministries. So the goal is trying to make it not just from one side, but from the environment side, from a systematic way to deal with the consumption. As you can find from these actions that we are trying to focus on several issues. The first one is we want to improve the supply of the green products. So the green products coming from the agricultural products, coming from the electronics, in the home uses, and also one of the focuses on the cars. We know that China is becoming the largest renewable energy vehicles production countries in the world. So we're not just trying to, improve the production capacities. I think that we want to make it greener, want to make the supply and the demand to meet each other. And the second category is about the services. We know in the recent months, we are trying to strengthen the services for the consumption. So how can we just try to motivate the development of the services? We are trying to make it greener. So including something to do with the dining, like the restaurants, and also for the accommodation in the hotels, and also, the housekeeping is one of the priorities. So you can find that all of these areas are focused on the consumer side. So the consumers are really want to have more supply of those things. So I think that they are really interested in those things. And the third one is that we are going to create the green consumption mode. We're going to strengthen or improve the green supply chain and trying to use a score-based system to encourage the different enterprises and also the consumers to have a better administration and monitoring of all the process. So we do not want to have more fears or fraud affairs to get the subsidy from the government. And we are going to innovatively to try to promote the green development on the shared basis. The fourth one is about the recycling. We're not just trying to do the first consumption by the first usage. We want to make it more sustainable. We're going to encourage the circulation of the second-hand products and trying to make the better use of the used products and the resources. And there are still two more things. The one is trying to improve or trying to optimize the circumstances for the green consumption. And also we're going to make it better, for all the stakeholders to be more able to consume these green products and trying to enjoy the green services.
Yeah, and actually, we've already seen large scale programs like vehicle and appliance trade ins. Are these policies mainly about cutting emissions, or are they also about stimulating consumption?
And in my understanding, there both are trying to make the two ends meet. Well, the consumption are some people argue that it has a very close relations with the income and also with the number of the consumers. So I would say that when you are multiple these two parameters, you will have the consumption result. But I don't think that people are not able to find enough products to consume. So one of these worries may be coming from not enough green products or green services. Like for the vehicles, we know that the NEVs, the new energy vehicles, are so flourished in China. There are so many producers of those cars. But how can we make the people believe that when they are going to consume the cars, they are not just trying to buy it. They have to depend on the charging about the electricity, whether the electricity comes from the renewable or from the fossil fuels is different. So when they're going to to count on their consumption on the EVs, they must consider about how many years will they have to replace the batteries, the lithium batteries for a new one. So is that very expensive, or whether they can just trying to find some companies to recycle those batteries. So all these things are connected with each other. Our idea is not just trying to make it with ample supply, but trying to encourage the suppliers to compete with each other, to put more technology to, in this kind of the cycle, the lifetime cycle of those products, and trying to give a better support on the two-way communications coming from the supply side and the demand side. They can just give the other side more ideas about what is more expected from this technology and also from the products and the services.
Yes, since you mentioned the suppliers, actually China's data shows there's a gap between demand for green products and their actual supply. So when governments talk about green consumption, is there a risk that climate responsibility gets kind of pushed onto consumers, even though the biggest, most carbon intensive decisions are still made by producers? And how does this plan try to address those concerns?
Well, it is a really a good question. According to the data, when the producers are, calculated about their carbon emissions, most of them are coming from the heavy industries like the steel and ironings and some of the cement industries. I would say that is true because, the production and manufacturing of China is not just meet our demand. It also cover a lot of demand from abroad, from the foreign markets. So a lot of the first layer or the front end supply chains, they have to deal with the raw materials processing and trying to refine those products. So they're really account a lot. But I don't think that the consumer consumption is not that important because even compared with manufacturing, the number is not that obvious. But the trend is very important. Like for everybody, that we are not just the consumer, we are also the producer. Sometimes we employ it in the factories. Some of us employ it in the transportation department. I would say that we will have a better understanding about how important the greenness is for the demand side. We will have a better intention to do more in the producing side. So it's actually are really a complementary two sides from the consumers to the producers. And the actions of the consumers are really important for the producers to know more about the intentions, and they will be more encouraged to produce green products if the consumers want to buy more. So I don't think that we want to push or force the consumers to change their habits, but according to the examples, good examples for their friends and some of these neighbors, they are consuming the green products. Maybe the others will also change their attitudes. I think it's gradually will change the atmosphere and also the environment of the society. They will prefer to consume more green products and services, and this necessarily to be one of very important issues when you are talking about the consumption. Many people argue that the consumption is only based on the price. They only consume the products with a lower price. I don't think that would be our normal one or right one. So one of these intention is trying to encourage that maybe the market should be diversified. Some products are embedded with new characteristics like the greenness, and these products can be consumed by the people, the group of the consumers who intend to consume. So there will be giving us more diversified supply, and I think that will be even better and more diversified for us to deal with uncertainties.
Okay, so how big and how sustained does green consumer demand need to be before producers are forced to change how they actually design and manufacture their products?
I think that maybe they start from the very small or the small abilities it's quite different. Like for the NEVs, it is very natural because they started from that, from the green products. But for some of the other areas, like when we're going to use the refrigerators or the televisions or any many other the PC related products, they're not started from that. But I would think that gradually people will notice that it will becoming more and more important for them to consume the consumption products with greenness. So the producer are already involved in this process. I don't think that all these reactions started only from the consumers. Some of this the PC producers, they introduce their products like that, they label that with green supply. They said that their materials of their computers or laptops are coming from the environment friendly materials, and all the process are reduced for the carbon emission, and all the recycling are possible. So I think that is a very very good. And when the consumers are trying to use that, they will find that they will be prompt because what they are putting for the transactions are also supporting the environment. So actually, I think that it depends on the specific products, but it will spread from one product to another in a much more faster way if we can continue with these actions and also to encourage the people to be proud of that.
Okay, and as you mentioned earlier, this plan also proposes a nationwide green consumption points system where the points we earned from low carbon choices could be used like money, both online and offline. So, how might this kind of reward mechanism influence our everyday purchasing decisions?
Well, yes, I would say that these systems are not just to manage the consumption. It's actually have several different impacts. So first of all, as you mentioned, that when the people are consuming the green products, that maybe they have to pay more. So when they have to pay more, they must think about the additional, the extra cost. So if you get them more points, like or the scores they can use as money in the future. Some of them will be contemplated, by this kind of system design. But another way, I think that it also are going to have some administration or monitoring on the producer. So, China has used this kind of practices before, like for the NEVs, when they started to do that, they put these systems, for different producers. If the producers can have enough points, they will be qualified for certain policies. So actually, it is a kind of interactions between the demand side and the supply side. I think that is a kind of a trigger to make this all this process in a better way. And I think another important issue is about how can we use of this the points. The points are not just for this the macro levels transactions between the consumers and the suppliers. It is also a kind of way when the financial institutions can be involved. So based on these kind of things, we can have a better additional information to be injected in the credit system. We know that China is full of different possibilities. When the transactions are in a very big amount, it is easy for us to recognize who is in the good credit, who is not. So based on these point systems, we can also, introduce the financial resources. The consumers who are having a better credit, they can get some finance from these financial institutions. So it will be easier for them to continue with their behaviors, like for the green consumption. So I think this system is a really a kind of thing that we can make all these behaviors quantitative. I think that is a really a good way for us to calculate how the effects of the policies is, and should we do more to improve some of this uh, aspects of these policies in the future.
Okay, so as you said, currently consumers may still need to pay more for greener products, but do incentives like subsidies and points actually change their long-term consumer behavior, or do they mainly drive those short-term policy-driven consumption?
Well, everyone is adapting to the environment. So we cannot just say that we will change our behavior overnight. So at the beginning, maybe if you have these policies, people will and people have this consumption desire. They will compare different choices between the different suppliers. But in most of the time, I don't think that people are really so desired to buy the things just overnight. They need to prepare for a while to make some comparisons between the different suppliers and also to hear the advices of their friends. So actually, this policies is trying to start a valve and trying to make the people start to think about there are maybe two a little bit more different choices, and some of them are have a quite different characteristic and also the dimensions about different indicators. So they can start from that. But I believe that the trend can be formed in the, when the more and more people are trying to put money or consume the green products and services. So it is designed to be a longer term of policy direction. But as you can find from the NEV's example also, we're not just trying to make the subsidies or kind of fiscal support from the government for the longer term. So it will gradually phase out So at the beginning, when the people do not have any idea about this thing or choices, maybe the encourage or the policies, the degree is strong. But when the people are get used to these habits and their habits has been formed, I think that gradually the policies will fade out. So it's a kind of a way of forming people's ideas about which one is better, which one should be consumed in their mind. I think it's definitely our idea that we will not just make all these policies stay there forever. We will change the policy according to the people's intentions.
Okay, and also the plan emphasizes green supply chains and carbon footprint assessments. How important are these standards, labels, and certification in building consumer trust?
Well, they are very important. When I was, maybe 17 years ago, I was doing some research about forest-related practices in Africa. And there is our neighbor, they call it FSD, coming from the Europe. They said that when the forests are planted in a way of a sustainable way, trying to make it more diversified about the forest, they can have the labor. But when the companies want to have the labor, they have to pay for that. So, there is additional cost of be labored. So actually, many consumers in the European market, they really want to buy those products with the label. So we need to make the consumers understand what are the labels really mean for them. Actually, when we're talking about the green products or green services, we just have an idea, but we do not know whether the products and the services are really green or how green they are. So actually, if we have the standards, we have these labels, it will reduce the cost of the consumers to judge whether their choices will be right, will be what they really want to have. So that is a really important thing. And another important function of these labels and standards is about the functions of introducing the criteria for the enterprises. The enterprises want to be greener, but they have to know what actions should be done and what direction should they follow. That is important for them to reduce the cost of doing some wrong choices. So these standards are really important, but I don't think that will just decided from the top-down, practices. We will want to collect, the ideas and suggestions from the market, and some of them we are going to learn from maybe some of the other countries, some of the leading countries, their leading practices. So I think that this process needs some time for us to have a better and clear signals, and the standards are important for the companies and the consumers to follow.
Yeah, but does this also unintentionally raise the entry barriers for smaller firms?
Actually, there are two sides. For the smaller companies, I think that they are more flexible. They can try to follow on the trend very easily. They can also change their direction easily. So this is their advantages. But when they are going to have a better abilities to put more emphasis on the innovation, it is so hard because they do not have enough money. So one of the barriers for them is that they do not have the abilities to access the right information. So in this regard, some of them, even they want to be greener, they want to be enjoy the benefits of the greenness, they are not able to do that. But when you're talking about the standards and also the labels, I don't think it's definitely need to be a barrier for them. Like, when we're talking about some of the businesses for the MOFCOM, when they are trying to encourage the small and medium-sized enterprises to go globally, to invest in another country, they have a special fund to support the SMEs. And, they are going to support them if they are qualifying for some labels, if they want to get some, kind of qualifications from the international organizations, and their expenses can be covered, or at least can be, to be subsidized in a certain way. That is, following the WTO practices, the SMEs should be respected and dealt with in a different way. So in China, you can find that no matter in NDRC, all the Ministry of the international and information technology, both of them, they have established a certain barriers or departments to take care of the small and medium-sized enterprises. So I think that in the future, the start will maybe not that easy for the small and medium-sized enterprises, but we will do our best to support them to also join this systematically change or reform to a greener environment. I think that we will not just make anyone left behind.
Mhm. Well, the plan highlights AI plus green consumption. What does that actually mean in practice?
You may know that AI is one of the very important elements, especially after the 2025. So the City Council has proposed a AI plus plan or initiative trying to support the society with AI elements. So like for the consumption or the green consumption, I would say that AI can be also implemented or embedded in all the three areas. The first one is, the production when you are going to change or transfer from the traditional way to a greener way, you have to do some research and development. You can use the AI technology to facilitate this transfer. Also, even you're talking about the SMEs, the small and medium-sized enterprises, they can use this technology to reduce their barriers or the cost of doing that. And the second, that is, the logistic and AI can be used to facilitate the whole process of the distribution of these products. And that is quite natural and quite important for us to reduce the cost for distribution of the green products. And the final way is that when we're talking about the life cycle of these products, we need to recycle those products, and also they can be used to identify the different characteristics of these products and trying to make it more efficient and more resilient. So I think that AI has already, gone deep in our society. We need to respect these facts, and we want to make it more resilient, safer, and also to consider about the different issues. But I need to also mention that there are still some issues we need to take care of. When AI is used in this, consumption end, we need to try to do more carefully monitor the privacies, and that is really important for all the consumers.
Yes, and we also see encouragement for shared mobility, shared spaces, and green leasing. Are these still niche ideas, or do you see them becoming mainstream consumption models in China?
I would say that is possible to provide our more diversified space or more specialized areas for the development. Well, I think that the shared, kind of products and the spaces or other resources is one of the way that the people are not having enough resources. So in the future, maybe we can do more. We can have a better, supply to meet those demands, but we need still to be take care of those resources and try to make it better aligned with the greenness requirement of the society.
Yeah, but I'm thinking at a deeper level, is green consumption primarily about consuming differently or consuming less? Well, you mentioned recycle, but I kind of feel that China's plan seems to embrace the farmer while still boosting overall spending. So does that risk missing the deeper systemic changes that are needed for sustainability?
Well, yeah, there are a lot of issues we need to deal with. Like some of these farmers are not so aware of this importance of the greenness, and their products are not able to be to reach the forest markets in China or in other countries. So the process are based on the abilities of logistics and infrastructure and infrastructure when it is working, they need more the greener fuels. So the consumptions are not just the ideas. We cannot imagine that everything will reach our home without the additional cost. So the allocation of the warehouses and also the supermarkets are also one of the possible indicators or elements to impact the greenness consumption. So we need to put it in a systematical way of thinking these ideas.
Okay, so as the world's second largest economy, how might China's push for green consumption influence global supply chains and multinational companies?
Well, I would say that is definitely important because China are the number two populated countries in the world. So the behaviors or the actions of China are doing some examples for our trading partners. If they are going to export to China, they also need to fulfill their requirement from the China side. So the consumption are really one of our really intended areas for encourage in the future. So I hope that it is not just coming from in the way of the trade, but also by the attitudes, by the information exchanges, and also when the foreign people come to China, they can have more understanding about what China is going to. I think that is a systematic way of interactions. I don't want to say that China is always right, but in the way of the greenness, I think that we are doing a better and more important job to make the world believe that we can be sustainable.
Thank you, Dr. Zhou Mi, Senior Research Fellow with Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation. And that wraps up this edition of Climate Watch. You can find more episodes on your favorite podcast platforms. Just search for Climate Watch and hit subscribe. Don't forget to leave us a quick review or share it with a friend. You can also email us at radio@cgtn.com with your questions or feedback. And stay updated on the latest climate stories with our Substack newsletter, Climate Choices. I'm Zhao Ying. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.